Hi, my name is Steve. I've been going to Redemption Church for just over a year now, and I just want to share how I've grown. At the beginning of December of this past year of 2016, I lost my job, and I'm the primary provider in the household, so as you can imagine, that was stressful, and it was unexpected, and we made a decision pretty quickly to trust God that He would take care of us. And immediately I decided I wanted to take a full day to fast and to pray and to really focus on the Lord. I'd never fasted before, and it's something that I felt prompted to do, something that I felt was important, particularly when something big like this happens, is that you just need to lean on God, because you can't lean on a paycheck anymore at that point. And you need to, you can't do it yourself. And so it felt really important for me to really focus my attention on the Lord and focus on what He wanted from me. I wasn't sure I wanted to do the same kind of job anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. But I knew where to look, and so I just stayed faithful, and I prayed a lot for wisdom, for guidance, and for a new job. And I was unemployed for almost 6 months, and I had some severance and unemployment to help us during that time. But anyone who's had an unexpected unemployment that's lasted a while, you get nervous. And I distinctly remember one night, Gina and I were about to go to sleep, and we were nervous and we were a little worried, but at the same time we looked at each other and we were just saying, I don't know how people who don't have Jesus handle something like this. I don't know where I would have been, the sort of despair I would have felt, the sort of hopelessness I would have felt if I didn't know that God would take care of it and would take care of us, and that we just needed to stay faithful. Thankfully, I have a really happy ending. I ended up with a new job with a great company, doing something that is more interesting and more personally satisfying for me. And it's worked out really well in the end. But it was 6 months of really, it was a trial, and I couldn't lean on myself, couldn't lean even just on my wife, and as much as we rely on each other, but I just had to stay in prayer and had to know that God would take care of it, and had to continue having faith and just keep working towards whatever He had for me, keep looking for whatever that was. I learned a lot of stuff. I learned that it is not best for my personal health to be the primary caregiver of my girls 24/7. I learned that God's timing isn't always what I want it to be. If it was up to me, I would have had a job as soon as my severance ran out, after a month and a half or 2 months, something like that. But ultimately, the job that I got it's right for me. And it took 6 months for that job to be open. And God's timing was better than mine, just like it always is. I'm now studying the Word every day, which is not something I've ever done in my entire life. I grew up in the church, grew up as a Christian, and up until the last year to year and a half, there was huge chunks of the Bible that I'd never read before. And getting in there and seeing the stories of, particularly in the Old Testament, of people who are just like me, who are struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with, that the Old Testament doesn't leave out the bad parts, that the bad stuff happens, and that God keeps pursuing people even when they're not pursuing Him, and keeps pursuing people even when they've done some bad stuff. It's such a incredible testament to His faithfulness to us, that He keeps coming for us, and He came for us over and over and over again, and all we have to do is rely on Him, and He'll come through for us again. It's really easy now to look back and say it worked out great, but at the time it was sort of, what else do I have? So I've just got to lean on God for this. Don't lose faith, don't lose heart. God's working. I've made it through one trial, and I know there's going to be another one, and that's just sort of how life works, is that trials happen, being a Christian doesn't mean trials aren't going to happen, and trials happening doesn't mean you're not a Christian anymore, and doesn't mean God's not faithful anymore. And you just have to stay the course, and you have to trust that God's going to do his part, and that we just have to do our part and stay faithful and stay reliant on him, and he'll come through. And you might not like waiting. I don't like waiting. I've had a few times where I've prayed and I felt like God's telling me to wait, and immediately the next thing I pray is, but I don't want to. And it doesn't really matter that I don't want to wait. I don't know what the future holds. God does, and if he tells me to wait, I'm gonna have to wait. There's no other option there. And so just trust that he knows what he's doing, and that you don't, and that he'll come through.